Hello, welcome to the Freeman Conversations. I'm Joe Oka, the online editor of the Freeman, and today is World Mental Health Day. But the questions are, what is mental health exactly, and why should we be conscious about it? And what can we do to ensure that our mental faculties are at the peak of health? Helping us answer these questions today are friends from the academy. We have faculty members from the psychology departments of the University of San Carlos and Cebu Normal University. From USC, we have Cheryl Diaz-Muli. Cheryl, thank you for being with us today. And from CNU, we have Dr. Emmanuel Hernani. Sir, welcome to the Freeman Conversations.
Good afternoon, thank you, sir.
We have a very interesting topic to talk about today, so if you want to join in the conversations, please do join in the conversation, type your comments and questions, and our guests will try to answer them for you today. Okay, I think we have to begin our conversation by defining exactly what mental health is for people.
Okay, to start with, mental health includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a person. It also affects the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. And it can also tell us how we interact with the society, the way we make decisions, and our interpersonal relationship is also affected.
You mentioned emotional, because I thought all along that mental health simply implies
Mind.
Yes. Not at all, actually.
Not at all, because whatever happens in our mind is translated in our body and in our feelings and in our behavior also.
Okay, Doc.
Yeah, I would agree with her definition, and I would just like to emphasize the word balance and optimal functioning. So, because when you say mental health, it is a balanced state of being a person with different dimensions. Now, when you say dimensions, it would mean your economic dimension, your academic dimension, if you are still a student. It would also mean your family or marital dimension, other dimensions as well, like for example, your spiritual or religious dimension and legal dimension as well. So with those dimensions, if you are in the state of balance, then I would say that you are in a
healthy mental health.
Yeah, healthy mental state.
Yes. When can we say that our mental state is not healthy?
Actually, should I start?
Go ahead.
It would really depend on the context. But most of us psychologists would agree that there is actually a standard. So that's why we have a manual, a reference manual, where we would check the person's functioning. So, and since there is a manual, then I would say that there's a standard definition of mental health. And I would say that, of course, basically we would say that if a person is maladaptive to self and maladaptive to others, then there's a tendency that he is not mentally healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the basic indicator of health or illness.
Actually, there are three, to simplify, there are 3 Ds that we need to have first, because sometimes people readily diagnose themselves as having depression, having anxiety, having this and that.
This is self-diagnosis you're talking about.
Yes,
okay.
Especially when they hear of the symptoms. I have that symptom, and maybe I have also the illness. But then again, before you diagnose a person, the person has to undergo battery of tests, assessment, not just clinical interview, the way we're doing right now, for example, and psychological test. He has to answer that also. But then again, going back to the criteria that Dr. Tata was talking about, and we have the 3 Ds, the deviance, the distress, and the dysfunction. So if these 3 Ds are present, now when you say, especially what Sir Tata said about the maladaptive behavior, you cannot anymore function normally. The normal, what they call this, roles that you need to take every day, now you cannot anymore do it.
For example?
For example, just getting up, dressing up, brushing your teeth, that alone, because if you're depressed, you don't have the motivation to do all those things.
Okay.
Even simple things that is required of you for a normal person to do, the person...
You have the interest
yes,
already.
you don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah, again, so again, the process of three, distress, dysfunction, and deviance. So how many in the population manifest such behavior? Are you the only one?
But it's not actually an exact indicator.
Yeah.
Because there are people who are deviant, but they are functioning.
Yes.
And sometimes we call them eccentric, odd,
Eccentric, odd.
or different from other people. So,
But it doesn't mean that they have the disorder.
yeah. Or
Right.
there are actually people who loves to do some risk-taking activities. These are actually the form of maladaptive to oneself because they might get killed. But this doesn't mean that they are dysfunctional.
Okay.
So it is an exact or complete
Yes.
or should I say thorough definition of mental health.
So the three have to be there, the three T's have
Yes,
to be
and the different criteria.
what
So
are these
each-
criteria?
Actually, each disorder has now different set of criteria that you need to check, evaluate.
Let's talk about the disorders. What are these disorders we're
For
talking
example, they have there are a lot now in the DSM-5. Many different disorders. You have schizophrenia, you have schizoid personality. You have the different personality disorders, borderline, bipolar, and so on. There are a lot, and each mental illnesses have different criteria, and these different criteria have to be evaluated per person, and then you need to check how many are present. If these are not met, then it may not be considered as a disorder, but maybe just a sign of it being manifested by the person. So
What is the most common?
which one? Most common diagnosis?
Yes.
Sir.
In
your
present, in our country, it's drug addiction.
Yeah, right.
So drug addiction and alcoholism, and the second one would be depression. The third one is schizophrenia. But there are other illnesses as well that are comorbid, or meaning they are
Exist altogether.
coexisting with other illness like medical illness. Persons who have cancers might have also mental illness or mental problems. So we could say that it's not really just mental illness. It's other illnesses as well. So again, if we're gonna talk about our country, for me it's drug addiction and alcoholism and then depression also. But I think there's also a problem with most of us, especially for those who are experiencing marital distress. They have PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, especially if there is violence in the abode. And also, in cases of child abuse, these are also the manifestations, the post-traumatic stress disorder.
Let's talk about students. What do students usually experience or encounter?
Mostly it's disorder caused by the teacher.
According to one father there, I will not mention the name, he said that the school has to consider the pressure, the academic pressure that the teachers are giving the students, because most of their stress come from academic
Assignments?
pressure.
Too many
Academic
assignments,
demands.
academic demands.
Yes.
Okay, the issue of mental health or depression, for that matter, took center stage recently.
Yes.
Because of social media.
Yeah.
True.
Joey De Leon
Mm.
was put on the spotlight recently when he said that mental health is something that's
Wala lang yan.
wala lang gawa-gawa lang,
Gawa-gawa.
although he apologized eventually
Yes.
for that remark. And also, mental health, attention was given to mental health and depression and suicide, for that matter, because of a very popular television show, 13 Reasons Why, when an American teenager detailed the reasons why she ended her life, and there are 13 reasons. But during my time, if I remember, when I was younger, there was really not much talk about mental health and depression. Why do you think the community and society is talking about this today?
Number one is because of social media, and then since we are aware of the different indicators and manifestations as manifested by some actors or protagonists in a TV show, then we would try to reflect on ourselves, and then we would try to diagnose ourselves. So that's why we are very much aware of the different facets of mental illness. And there's also the negative side, aside from the positive side of being aware of this different mental issues.
Yes. What's the other side of it?
As I said, there's a negative side. Like for example, in the case of suicide, it is a common knowledge among the clinicians that there is what we call contagion suicide or copycat suicide. And in fact, as you can see in our phenomenon here, if there is someone who would commit suicide today, then tomorrow or a week after, then there's another person who would try to commit the same pattern of suicide.
I see.
So it's a copycat suicide actually, and the media plays a vital role.
Please talk about that. Why does the media play a vital role in?
Because sometimes when media would try to describe that particular act in a very graphic, detailed manner, and it would sometimes let the reader become aware of it and how to do it and how to execute that particular act.
Yes, and it is being placed in their awareness. Instead of having a confusion on how to do it, but because of the detailed presentation from the media, which is very much accessible to the public.
Yeah, so that's why if I may recommend that to the MTRCP or
yes,
to the censor of the newspaper,
we
would put some, a note. Like for example, in the television we put PG, G or R. It might also be. It could also be applied to. To some newspapers as well, or to some articles in the newspaper.
But do you recommend that we don't write stories about suicide? For example, just recently, a student of one of the schools here jumped off from the 7th floor, if I'm not mistaken, of the school building.
Yes.
But that is very public, so we had to write about it.
I think
if we had to write about it,
the word
what
there is responsible, be a responsible, media practitioner.
Okay.
So with the word responsible, I think we have to be competent and empathic with how the reader would take it, meaning the news. And I don't know how to do it actually, with how a media practitioner would do that. But I think that's the word. Be sensitive to the reader actually.
Yes, because that story actually generated mixed reactions.
Yes.
Other people are saying we should not have written about that because they empathized with the family and can we call the one who committed suicide a victim? Is it a correct reference?
I don't know the politically correct term right now.
Yeah, because
from the psychologist.
No, because
how should we refer to
we
this?
also would not want to call it committed suicide, but somebody who lost the fight. No, it's more kinder, or it's more kind, or if not, because when you say committed suicide, it is something that has a negative connotation, although suicide is a negative connotation, but putting more negativity on it. Now when you say committed suicide, okay, rather than say lost the battle, lost the fight, lost the battle, or lost the fight, or completed suicide. No, completed suicide.
Okay, because when the phrase committed suicide, from one perspective, tells you that there was a deliberate attempt to kill someone's life, and that's a negative connotation.
Although it is really a deliberate way of stopping or ending your life, but just not to put or add a stigma on it, just to be more what do you call this? How would you term that? So sensitive, sensitive in talking about suicide. And you made mention Joey De Leon and his comments toward the insensitive comments about depression. There are a lot of Joey De Leons in our community. We cannot blame them if they understand depression as such, because not everybody have the comprehensive understanding of what depression really is. A lot of people still belong to the old school of thought that is depression katong iyang gisulti wala lang, gibuhat mo sa imong kaugalingon,
Gawa-gawa
gawa-gawa mo lang yan, nagpapasosyal lang ka.
Uh-huh.
Even people in the professional, in the mental health professional, are also guilty of that way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there is a need to increase awareness. No, the call for aggressive campaign for increasing awareness regarding these matters to address that, because people like Joey De Leon can really put a person inside a coffin. That kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm. There's also a manner of thinking that someone in line with gawa-gawa lang yan, because that person simply wants to generate attention.
Yeah, while it is true, there's a certain at some point it is true na you just want attention while you're doing this, but then again you have to look through that behavior. Why would a person want attention? What's the need behind that? Would you stop by just knowing that she just wants attention, but what is really behind that behavior? And if you keep on thinking that is just a call for attention, then I don't think we can solve it, or we can address the issue.
In line with that, if we go back, what causes depression, and what causes depression, and how can we identify symptoms that someone is depressed?
There are a lot of different causes. So we can cite biological aspect,
biological, environmental,
social, cultural aspect. So when you say biological, the genes, no, and once a person, because you have here in your table the word stress, once a person gets stressed, what happens in the brain, no? There are changes in the chemical. Like for example, the amygdala is, I'm talking na scientific, no?
Yeah,
Should I? Let's make it simpler. Anyway.
Yeah, so there's actually a biochemical
reactions or changes.
Explanation. So, as she said, it's more of the neurotransmitters in our brain, meaning the chemical in our brain that will transmit signals to each other inside our brain. So it has that component also. And aside from that, there's also environmental, especially with how the person.
Big factor.
Yeah, is growing up. For example, if the environment is hostile or it is cruel to the person, then it could likely contribute or trigger the depressive
tendencies.
Yeah, tendencies of the person. So it is really a multi-factorial thing.
Yeah, you can't just point out one. There can be one trigger, but the cause of depression is multifaceted, as what Sir Tata is saying.
Environmental factors, family,
Peers,
peers, peer pressure.
Yes, also. And it could be, technically there are two factors, internal and external factor.
Alright.
So it's external, it could mean your family, your peers, your environment. Yeah, the internal factors, it's more about how you see yourself as a person. And it talks about your resiliency. So how you would bounce back in times of troubles and stress. So those two factors would interplay with each other, and it would depend on the situation. So when you say situation, there could be a trigger which is external, or it could be a trigger that is internal. So it would really depend on how the person would take it. So, and it would depend really on the factors that, as I said, could be internal or external factor.
Correct me if my understanding is incorrect, but are you trying to tell us that depression can be traced back to childhood, or not necessarily?
Sad to say.
Yes, I mean the person variable is very important, and how you view the world. If you view the world negatively, or if you view the world as a safe place, can be traced back to the way you were raised as a child. No, I mean there's this what we call the attachment theory. No, that the first 5 years is very crucial. That the way the caregiver responds to your needs, like for example, when the baby cries, the caregiver is there to give her what she needs. If that is very consistently done, the attachment style will be secure. And if the person is secure, that will affect the way he perceives the world, outside world, and he would perceive it as a safe place for him. But if the primary caregiver is inconsistent, I'm talking about the attachment theory. If the
When we say
primary,
primary caregivers, we can talk about
the one who
parents or anyone
who cares for the
nurture a
child.
Okay.
So if the primary caregiver is inconsistent, meaning to say sometimes there, sometimes not there, then the child will develop anxious attachment style, meaning to say he will view the world negatively but view himself positively, that he can rely on himself but not on the world. And then if the primary caregiver is inconsistently not available, so it's either the child will develop avoidant personality and so on. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that as you were asking, if it can be traced during the childhood, yes, it can be. There are some theories that can explain that. How you were raised as a child, your relationship with your parents or the primary caregiver has a lot to do with how you behave and how you perceive the world. And looking at that, if for example I am anxious, I have a negative view of the world. So if I'm stressed, I have a negative way of responding to stress. A negative way of responding to stress will also give me negative, what they call this, and all the different chemicals that will be changing inside my system. Compared to a person who has a secure attachment style and will view the world in a very safe place, and will view things differently compared to the other person who is anxious. Okay, so yeah.
What can you do, for example, if you come from a family that is unstable and very hostile, as you mentioned earlier, growing up, what can you do to be able to stabilize yourself, so to speak, so that your perception of the world can change?
That's why we have guidance counselors and psychologists.
Yeah.
So if you have problems, and if you can see that there is actually a growing problem within your person as you grow up, then you might as well go to a professional. And if the teachers will see that you have a problem in academics, then it is also a good predictor that there's a problem. So that teacher might as well refer you to a counselor, or to a psychologist, or to a psychiatrist.
Based on your observations, do students actually go to guidance counselors?
Unless cold.
Yeah.
Unless cold.
Because
how do we encourage
it's
students
because
to
we
go to
have
guidance?
this traditional notion of a counselor, and in fact, we used to call a guidance office a dungeon.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that the counselors of the olden days are not really counselors, and most of them are not really counselors. They are not trained as a competent counselors. In fact, they would instead of being caring, being compassionate, they are cruel, and in fact, they would discipline the student physically. So I would say that those are the wrong notions of being a counselor. So, but today,
These are people that students actually fear in the past.
Yes, and I think we still carry that label up until now. But good thing that there are reforms being done by CHED and by DepEd, and we are now beginning to visit a guidance office. And in fact, in our school, our guidance office is very active in helping our students.
There's also this perception. The word mental, well, at least in the Philippines, the word mental is associated with very negative connotations. When you say mental, it's associated with either being crazy, or the mental institution, where those who are mentally unstable are placed.
Yeah, just like the word psycho.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a negative connotation of. But I think it really depends on the context and how are you going to use it. And as I said, the media plays a role in letting the reader or viewers understand the different terminologies that we use, especially in our field of mental health.
We have here notes from the Mental Health American. I'd like to consult with you if these are universally accepted signs. No? They differentiate the signs of being stressed and depressed. And under stress, if you can get a copy of this, if under stress, those people who are stressed have trouble sleeping, feeling overwhelmed, have problems with memory, they have problems concentrating, change in eating habits, feeling nervous or anxious, feeling angry, irritable, or easily frustrated, feeling burned out from studying or schoolwork, feeling that you can't overcome difficulties in your life, and trouble functioning in class or in your personal life.
Actually, these are indicators actually of an illness or psychological illness. But this is so comprehensive, and I would say that this is true actually. Yeah. But take note that we have, in simple terms, we have to use, or I'm using the since Ma'am Cheryl is using an abbreviation a while ago.
The DSM
The DDD.
DDD.
Yeah, DDD.
Triple D.
So I will use the FDI. It's
FDI.
a frequency, duration, and intensity.
Okay.
So if this
Frequency,
symptoms here,
intensity.
for those who are
Yeah, it matters.
here with us right now, it says here trouble sleeping, feeling overwhelmed. So if this has some forms of patterns or frequency, then I would say that this is it will indicate mental problem or psychological problem.
Oh my goodness.
So frequency, duration, and intensity.
The intensity.
Intensity and duration.
Everyone is so stressed out these days. When you go on Facebook, for example, you easily get stressed out with everything you do.
True.
Yeah, but if the stress is a pattern already and it has affected your functioning, that you could no longer study, you could no longer go to work, then that's a concern already.
So when you see these signs, you have to stop what you're doing and rest. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if you are using some sort of a self-coping strategy, but if you can no longer cope with it healthily or effectively, then you might as well see a professional. Professional, I say, would mean a counselor, psychologist, or psychiatrist. Yeah.
We'll talk about the professional help later, but on the other side of the paper, actually, here we have stress indicators and indicators of those who are suffering from depression. And under depression, it says here, withdrawing from other people, feeling sad and hopeless, lack of energy, enthusiasm and motivation, trouble making decisions, being restless, agitated and irritable, eating more or less than usual, sleeping more or less than usual, trouble concentrating, trouble with memory, feeling bad about yourself or feeling guilty, anger and rage, feeling that you can't overcome difficulties in your life, or feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, right? Trouble functioning in your class or in your personal life, and thoughts of suicide.
Yeah. And then not only when some of these are present, actually in the DS 5 out of 9, no, 5 out of 9 criteria. If you check on the 5, and then also Sir Tata was talking about duration. So if these 5 symptoms are present continuously within
What are these 5 symptoms?
2 weeks, there are 9 symptoms.
9, okay.
But then again, if you checked on 5 of these symptoms, and if the symptoms are present within 2 weeks continuously, because these are actually normal behavior, normal responses to stress.
Okay.
But the intensity, as Sir Tata was saying, and the duration, the duration has to be 2 weeks continuously, meaning to say there's no alleviated mood, there's no all this loss of all these disturbances in sleep, in eating habits, in motivation are present continuously for 2 weeks. Then you can be diagnosed as clinically depressed or major
that would have to be a red flag, in other words.
Yes.
Okay.
Has to be continuously 2 weeks.
There are similarities in these signs, but what really struck me are the ones below, like trouble functioning already in your class or personal life, and the feeling of helplessness, that you can't overcome problems and difficulties, and thoughts of suicide.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true, because to differentiate stress from depression, there is a normal stress, but depression now has...
What is a normal stress?
A normal stress is getting tired, because you have so many work, and getting irritable because your boss is there, so many demands and all, and you cannot anymore juggle all the things that you need to do. That's a normal stress. But what is not normal is, for example, you are reacting to it in a very severely manner that it can impair your functioning. Being impaired meaning to say You cannot function anymore. Even the normal functioning, like getting up, eating, brushing your teeth, and you cannot. The mind is disturbing, so you cannot even decide what clothes to wear. Even those trivial things you cannot do anymore. So there is now the impairment in functioning, and of course the suicidal ideation. That sets apart depression from sadness, or depression from regular normal stress. The presence of wanting to kill oneself.
What are the signs? What are the signs when you? Well, these are signs that you can see for yourself, but from a third person's point of view, or your friends, for example, can they see if you are depressed?
Yes,
Yes.
they can actually.
Some,
How do
yeah,
these
yeah.
manifest physically?
Like for example, avoidance of.
Oh, this one, correct?
Yeah.
Withdrawal from other people.
The avoidance or isolation from the group, and problems at work. The person will become irritable or angry each time you would meet someone. Those are actually indicators.
And then all of a sudden, the person doesn't want to do the pleasurable things that he used to be doing. And then if used to be, the person is so bubbly, then all of a sudden, the person is withdrawn. But then again, we have to understand that amongst all the different disorders, depression is the most misunderstood.
Why is that? Yeah.
Because it can be masked.
Mm.
A person may appear okay,
Yeah, yeah.
but deep inside, the person is crushed. A person may be able to function, daily function, but when she is alone,
Yeah.
she is not okay. She is crushed, she is crying, she is withdrawn, and all these manifestations. That's why it is the most misunderstood disorder. That's why people they tend to say, nag-iinat eh,
Right,
nagkatama,
Yeah.
and so on. Because they are seeing you like this and that. Because again, it can be masked.
Why
There
do
is-
you mask your depression?
Number one is you don't want other people know that you are going through something. You just want to keep up, to the daily activities, to the daily routine. Because this is something that I'm going through alone. One of the symptoms of depression is isolating oneself and feeling that she is a burden to other people. That her
Okay.
mere existence is a burden.
Mhm.
That's why instead of talking, she withdraws. That's just one of the symptoms. That's why if you're talking about how to spot
Right.
a
especially-
person, aside from what Sir Tata said about feeling the mood disturbances, psychomotor agitation is also present.
What is
Psychomotor
that?
agitation, we would say,
Restlessness.
the person keeps pacing from one place to another, tapping the ball pen, leaving the end, and so on. The person is restless. So that is maybe the mild manifestation of psychomotor agitation. But another thing, the severe manifestation of psychomotor agitation is cutting.
Okay.
Maybe you can see people do that. No?
Yeah.
They sometimes hide it under the sleeves, and then you can see they cut. No, they cut. If not under the sleeve, sa thigh, or if not in the stomach, where they can hide it. So why do they do that? No, other people would say, if they really wanted to kill themselves, then
They should have already.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they would say, no, they are just trying to get attention.
Yeah.
No, but these people are actually cutting themselves for reasons that, one, to release the emotional tension. The tension is so high that one way of releasing it is seeing blood.
Inflicting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's releasing it, not feeling the pain and so on. Another reason could be they feel numb inside. They feel they are dead inside. They can't feel anything anymore. And to be able to feel alive again, they do cutting. They see blood, they feel the pain, and so therefore they are still alive and so on, or punishing themselves and so on. Yeah. But that is the severe form of psychomotor agitation, which is a symptom of depression. On the other end,
What are the subtle ones that are difficult to? Yeah.
katulad, tapping, and just like that. Another would be psychomotor, what do you call that, sir? When the person, the slow movement, the slow thinking, like that. So there's also like that, all of a sudden, the orientation is 2 weeks long. If, for example, today is October 10, the person's orientation would be October 1,
Mhm.
but she's not doing it purposely. It's just that No, very slow ang thinking, very slow.
She or he cannot control that.
Yes, cannot. Because it's already there because of the different, the stress, no, that has caused the different imbalances in the brain. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So what can we do
You
in
can do
situations
much.
like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please. What can the friends and family do?
If you would see the signs or symptoms, then you have to refer that someone to a professional, especially if it's depression. Because as what Ma'am Cheryl said, it has a sometimes person would wear mask to hide this the symptoms or even the depression itself. So if you
For example, Doc, in school you have guidance counselor, or you can go to your psychology teacher who can help you. But when you go back to your family, when you go back to your house, for example, it remains very hostile.
There's actually a protocol on how to deal with depression.
Okay.
So if you can see that the person is, for example, if the person has suicidal ideation, and then the person reports the suicidal ideation to the counselor, the counselor would refer that person directly to a mental health professional or to a mental health clinic or to the hospital. So because it's a 24/7, that person needs a 24/7 assistance. So like other illnesses.
Okay, so the person is recommended to no longer return home. Am I correct?
Yes, because when you refer that someone to a clinic or to the hospital, the professional there will surely assess the person, and if the professional would see that he or she needs all the round-the-clock assistance, then the professional would surely recommend inpatient treatment.
What about students or young people? And the families will not allow the professional help. What can we do? What can professionals like yourselves do about that?
Unfortunately, there's no law that would tackle such issue. But if it's a depression that has something to do with child abuse or domestic violence, then we can actually intervene.
Yeah.
So the counselor should report the case of the child to the disability or to the police authority for intervention.
In Cebu, do we have hotlines, for example, that people can call? Those who may be experiencing the symptoms can call, because I've read an article or two before that says most people who have the symptoms or experience the symptoms, most of the time they simply need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Yes,
So we have
the
tawag paglaong, but I am not sure if we have the tawag paglaong and Soto, and that is sponsored by Natasha Goldborn Foundation, and the counterpart in Manila is Hope Line. So this is a 24/7 call center where people manifesting symptoms of depression, anxiety, and so on can call, and they usually make referrals where to go, or who to go to, and so on. But to answer your question on what an ordinary person can do when they see a person who is depressed or manifesting symptoms of depression, or even the family, as you were saying, stay with the person, be with the person, talk to the person, and don't let the person be left alone. As much as possible, accompany the person. If, for example, the person doesn't want to talk, then don't force the person to talk also.
Okay.
Just be there and assure the person that you are there for him.
Your presence will be enough.
Yes, when you are ready to talk, I am here for you. And then just extend to the person that you understand what he or she is going through, that he's going through some difficult times, and know that I am here for you. Anytime you want to talk, you just call me, or I am just here. And keep on assuring the person, keep on assuring until such time that maybe he will find the courage to open up and talk to you and trust you with it.
The line that says, everything will be just fine, everything will be all right.
Don't ever say that.
Yes, because that's usually what people say.
Yes,
It's the simplest way, in other words, to assure someone who's in trouble. But
in our campaign, we do some talks, we give some talks. there's what you call the do's and don'ts, or what to say
Yes,
and
yes,
what not to
please,
say. You don't say everything will be okay, because you never know that it will
It's
be
almost
okay.
like a motherhood statement.
Yes. Never assure the person, or never give false hope to a person. Otherwise, balikan ka, no? If it doesn't turn out fine, then,
Right.
then he will blame you. Just be with the person. Just be sensitive, no? Don't ever judge. Don't ever say, kaya na mo. Never
Even
discount.
that, even
Discounting is a no-no. Discounting
Okay.
meaning to say, telling the person that a lot of people suffer the same thing as you do. Or there are even more problems
In the world.
in the world.
Right.
Just
These are
for
common
example,
phrases
yes.
that we. Yeah.
Yes, and this wouldn't help. And then if you say that kaya na nimo, it's all in your head. Think happy thoughts. It's as if telling the depressed, the diabetic, no, mo siya lang isulti, the diabetic to stop eating sweets and you'll get cured. So the person needs medication, especially when it is already a severe depression. So be sensitive. Be sensitive by not being judgmental and telling the person, just stand up, no? Ako bang tao, mas sobra pa ang problema kasi mo.
Right.
So,
Although it
always-
might be true, but it's not the
yes,
right thing to say.
That's not the right thing to say.
Okay.
And the more that the person would feel that he is worthless. Again, one of the symptoms is feeling worthlessness, feeling guilt. No, the mere existence is already a burden. So when you tell the person those phrases, the more that she will feel bad.
These are the don'ts. What are the do's about?
As what Mom Cheryl said, you have to be there to the person. You don't have to talk. You don't have to ask questions. If the person is not comfortable talking, then you might as well be there and listen to the person, not only with your ears but also with your heart. So meaning authentic presence is important at that crucial time of the other person.
If I'm getting it correctly, you have to. It should be a conscious effort for you to dedicate your time
Yes.
to the person
Yes, because
and energy.
Yeah.
yes.
It's never easy to deal with people who are depressed, clinically depressed. These people can push you to your limits, okay, because they're really
Listen carefully.
they're difficult to deal with, and most of these people lost, friends, even family. They turn back against this person because of her difficulty, no. But then,
But not necessarily because the person has been difficult to deal with in the beginning.
no,
not
it's
necessarily.
because of the depression.
Okay.
But we need to understand that the reason it's called a disorder is because of this maladaptive behavior. It can never be a disorder if there's no maladaptive behavior. And maladaptive behavior can be manifested to the interpersonal relationship. So there is this breakdown in the relationship. So again, as you were saying, it is a conscious effort and extended effort. You need to extend yourself to the person. And don't take it personally if the person is misbehaving. Don't take it personally. Just consider it as a symptom of what she is going through.
Yeah, I raised that up because there are people who also say, "Kapoy na."
Yes.
Yes.
Kapoy na, I deal with this person. It's so toxic. Takes the life out of me already.
Sure.
That's why I always emphasize referral.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this is not just a simple problem. It's a clinical problem that needs a clinical attention.
Professional help.
Yes.
But speaking of professional help, do we have to pay for that?
course.
That can also be an aspect.
Yes, of course. But
Because
yes, of course. But there are foundations who are willing to to take care of the finances.
here in Cebu, Doc, what's the situation like as far as free professional
We
help?
have professionals actually who are willing to help our people who are depressed. But the problem is we are but a small number. So what I need to say is that there are a few of us. So that's why some are already stressed out. Some are already stressed and burned out with dealing people with problems.
Yeah.
Oh, since you're asking that, may I say something about the
Of course,
group
yes,
that,
yes.
I
Please.
organized recently. It was called causa at first, but then again, during our meetings, we felt that it sounds like rebelde, no causa. So changed into kauban.
Okay.
So this is a support group comprised of mental health professionals. Some are registered psychologists, registered psychometricians, guidance counselors, social workers are also part of our group, and we are posing a support group for people manifesting symptoms of depression, anxiety, and having suicidal ideations. Just a place where they can come to, and we will be providing an avenue for them to express and for us to also share with each other. And just right now, as I was sharing a while ago, the University of San Carlos has given us a room in the law building. So we have a place there.
This is in the main campus.
The main campus
Okay.
where these people can come and we can meet weekly. And
It's very nice, yeah.
yeah, and also St. Teresa's College also gave us another room so we can alternate venues. And we have also lined up activities, and the goal is to increase self-awareness that would lead to self-efficacy. That's later on, it is not the illness that controls them, but them controlling the illness, that they would know how to deal with it and handle it. Yeah.
This is for free.
This is for free. So, luckily, we are very few. We are very few, sir. You are invited to join us. We are very few, but we only meet weekly.
How many psychologists do we have in Cebu, if I may ask? Professional.
I think I don't really know. I
We
don't
don't
have
have
the
the
head count.
numbers,
Yeah.
yeah. But very few, no,
Yeah.
very few. But also naman, to be fair, the kauban, we don't do diagnosis. We're just a support group. And if we see that this person is already really needs the formal treatment, then we would refer to Sir Tata to the clinic.
But it should be noted that there are also psychiatrists
Yes.
and
Yes.
nurses who can actually handle the depression.
And
For
actually,
those who might not be well aware, what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
Psychologists psychiatrists are medical doctors. So they are into the medical field, and while psychologists are not medical doctors.
Okay.
they can prescribe medications, psychiatrists, psychologists, we do not. But in some, I think in the US,
Yeah, in
the
some states.
clinical psychologists can, prescribe. Yeah.
When can you become a clinical psychologist? Do you need further studies for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you need to take up MA,
PhD.
PhD, and now you have to take up the board
I
to
see,
be
I see,
licensed
I see,
psychologist.
I see. In the Philippines, you have to take the board also.
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to practice.
Yeah. Is there a particular age range that get attacked or experience depression, or it can be experienced by anyone?
I have read an article regarding a depressed child around 9 years old.
Really?
I don't know if that is the youngest recorded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because some literatures mention already childhood depression. So I don't know if it is really an accepted standard regarding depression.
Based on your studies, if you have encountered any, are there particular jobs that where many people get depressed?
If you're talking about suicide, then mental health professionals are on the top. Yeah, of those who are, susceptible to suicide.
So the irony,
I see,
no?
okay.
The irony.
Professional.
It's very ironic.
Mental
Yeah,
health
yeah.
physicians actually.
Why is that?
I think it's because of the word stress.
When you get to absorb all the
Especially
problems.
if you don't know how to process it yourself. Because what the person tells you, for example, trauma, then you get to experience it. We call it vicarious traumatization. The secondary, how he is experiencing it, you will also experience it unconsciously.
I see.
And you will manifest the
Symptoms.
trauma symptoms.
I see. That's scary.
That's why mental health professionals are also advised to unwind.
Okay. Yeah, take things easy.
To take
I
care of their
wanted
mental
to
health.
undergo counseling.
Undergo also
I can just
Yeah,
imagine,
that's
because for
true.
example, if you have 20 patients in a month, and you get to absorb all the negative energies on a daily basis that can be really stressful on your part also.
True.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why you also have. You should also have a mental hygiene.
Yeah.
What is mental hygiene though? Please talk about it.
It's sometimes mental hygiene would mean recreation, leisure, or time for oneself. Like for example, meditation, yoga, or that could help the self.
Yeah. Anything, you're coping, the way you cope with stress, do it, enhance it. If you, for example, when you're stressed and how you deal with it, you go and watch movie, then do so.
Cebu is becoming very stressful to many of us now. Traffic. For one, maybe a major contributor to stress. If you're on the road for, I remember one time. Yeah, I remember one time when there was a downpour on Thursday.
I was 5 hours.
My friend also, my friend traveled from Mactan to Cebu City for 5 hours on that night.
True.
When you live in an urban community, what's your advice to the people?
I'm an advocate for the environment. That's why I would advise them to go somewhere, like to the province or to the outskirts of the city, and then be one with nature. That is one also a good way of improving or maintaining your mental hygiene.
Why though? What can that contribute or help?
It is what they call a change of milieu. And
Okay.
when you change your milieu or local or place, then it will trigger some positive effect on your brain. So that's why we often call that rejuvenation, and because the person's system would rejuvenate, just like as if you are sleeping, having a good night rest or a long needed sleep. So that would rejuvenate your person.
For the young people, ironically, before we say the internet or social media is an escape from the real world, but now it's the other way around.
It's not actually.
Yes, it's not the other way around. Do you recommend, especially the young people, to pull back once in a while on social media?
So you have to purge yourself from with your gadgets or other things, other electronics.
Yeah.
Even TV is not productive or good. Because you are just sitting there doing nothing, and then you are an observer instead of being being a reflective entity, meaning you reflect on your person. That would help you become a better person.
Many of us now are glued in our gadgets and have forgotten interpersonal skills, communication skills. How do you assess this? Is this helping in the context of mental health?
Actually, there is a revolution on the aspect of mental health, and one big factor of that revolution is the emphasis of relationship. So, in fact, one good indicator of a healthy person is a healthy relationship.
Relationship meaning?
It's how you relate with others, how you intercourse.
Not necessarily having a partner.
Yes.
Because that's what they usually think about.
Yes. It could mean your affair with your family, or with your workmates, or with your environment per se.
Cheryl?
Yeah. What?
What's
Sorry.
with, yeah.
We're talking about.
We're talking about the young people.
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah, social media. I would always advise, especially the social media diet. It may be impossible for them to do away with the gadgets, but at least know what they're listening to, what they're watching, because even the music that they're listening to, sometimes the contents are very violent. No, and unconsciously these are being imbibed by the system, and once it's there, unconsciously it can be manifested also. It can heighten the violence behavior of a person, and so therefore I would advise a social media diet. The way, and also the music that they're listening to, the video games, especially.
What's the best diet
What is
for a social media user?
Okay, moderate intake of everything, just like alcohol.
Okay.
Parental guidance is very important.
For those below 18,
Yes, for those below 18. Even in Filipino culture, it really doesn't matter if you're 18 or not, because parents still has a say. That's why watch out for what their children are, putting into their system, putting into their conscious minds, and so on, because it will really affect the way they behave. Yeah.
What is your advice to journalists like us, myself and Julius over here? The internet and social media is part of our daily lives.
Yeah, be responsible.
What diet would you recommend?
That's you know what? Just recently, I honestly I stopped listening to news, reading news. Just recently, I think 2 weeks ago, because I don't like to mention it, but the recent death of a friend, and then knowing the facts that really happened, that transpired in that death, and it's being written in the news, aired in the news, and so on, and it's the informations are not really true, and the experience really made me think that why would I put into my system lies, all lies, no one. It really stresses me, and so I said I should stop listening to news for now, because it's not healthy anymore. I get stressed, I react to the news, but the news is not hearing me because it's just one way. I am listening to it, it's not listening to me.
Yeah.
So I cannot also counteract it. So that's why for my own sake, for my own mental health, I stopped listening and reading all this stress-inducing news.
Okay. One of the questions I posed when we started was how to ensure that we maintain a healthy mental state. What is the best way for you as your last message to our viewers?
I think it is the ability to get involved and detach at the same time. So if you see that it has caused you problem already, then you have to detach. And then if you see that it can give you some good things, then you have to actually engage into it.
If I may just cite one example, because online we see a lot of hugot. We read a lot of hugot from young people. So when you say detachment, if in your relationships, or romantic relationships, there are those who want to maintain a relationship for the sake of maintaining it. What's your advice to the young?
When I say detachment, it would mean, what I would mean to say is objectivity.
Okay.
So you have to be objective in looking at things. And if you see that it's not healthy for you already, then you better withdraw from that particular thing. Or
whatever that is.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not really more about relationship with others. It could also be your affair with the environment, or maybe with your own also, with your inner self.
Right.
Yes. So we have to be aware of it. So the bottom, I think that the gist of my statement is more about awareness, or conscious, the awareness of how you deal with things. So because when you say awareness, it would lead you to become responsible of your person.
How can you best nurture self-awareness?
As I said, you have to know how to detach and engage, and every time you would engage, then you have to draw in your awareness of it. And if you're going to withdraw, then you have to make a conscious effort to know the experience. When you, for example, if you're going to withdraw in a particular relationship, then you have to check onto yourself, reflect on your person, and how it is affecting you. And you have to be objective also on how it affects the other person as well.
Yeah.
Cheryl, your message?
Yeah. Always know that you have a choice. That the way you respond to the things that happen surrounding you is your own choice. If you say that you're stressed, and that is your choice to be stressed, you have an option not to be stressed.
You have an option to quit your job.
Yes, and find another one. And that's as William Glasser would.
I can understand that, because many people always the argument is I don't have a choice.
We always have a choice, and you saying that you don't have a choice is a choice.
Okay.
Okay, so as William Glasser puts it, that everything from the outside are mere information, raw data. What makes it difficult, what makes it painful is the way you perceive it. So how you perceive it matters a lot. If you don't want to get stressed, then don't think of it as a stressor. But it is normal to be stressed, but you can also choose not to get stressed and choose to be healthy and happy.
That's a very good advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you have it, Cheryl Muli from the University of San Carlos, and of course, Dr. Emmanuel Hernani from Cebu Normal University. Thank you both for being here today
Thank you.
and for this very educational afternoon. If you have more questions and comments, please feel free to post them, and of course, our guests will do their best to answer them for you. This is the Freeman Conversations today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Jobert Ocao, the online editor of the Freeman, and join us once again here in the Freeman Conversations.